Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming. I know it's an odd time because some of you usually take the later evening dinner, so I appreciate. But this is very important. When the officer sent me the PowerPoint to review before we decided to do this, I was a little surprised at some of the scams that are going on. And it seems to be amped up and just going kind of crazy right now. So we want to protect you all and make sure you're well aware of what's going on. Before we get started, our mayor, Stephen Delina, has come and he will be introducing the event tonight. When it's all over, we have some cookies and water in the back. Enjoy, everybody. Well, I don't know that you can enjoy this.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. Hello, Monroe Village. Hey, listen, I had my early dinner as well, 4 o'clock. My son works at a golf course. He gets up at 4 in the morning and he has to be at work at 4:30. So when he comes home, he's hungry. So that's dinner time in my household. So of course, if I want to eat, I have to eat as well. But I do want to thank the administration for having us come here to give this presentation. We started this presentation a few years ago. It sat for a while, obviously, with COVID, but we thought it was a good time to start bringing it out because we're all home, right? We all get these phone calls, or if we're on the computer, we're all getting these emails in regards to these scams. Me in particular, my sons are 25 and 22. They've been through college already, but they still have student loans. We get phone calls about these student loans, and they're so precise. And they'll call up and they'll say hi in a really nice voice about we're having trouble with your student loan. And if you could, you know what? Please call back on this number and make sure you reference ABC, because that's important, because we want to make sure that everything gets paid. And obviously we do pay our bills on time. So to be getting these scam calls for anybody, at one of our presentations when the chief was here, the chief even got a call on the scam. And of course the chief wanted to play with him a little bit as well and dig him back. But you know, that's the way of the world now. They invade your home. They try to get your money, and it's very dangerous. So here in Monroe Township, we always tout our police. We always tout Monroe Township as one of the safest towns in not only in the county, the state, but the United States of America. And that's because of our police force. But we also need you. We need you to repel these phone calls and these scams as well. So that's why we think this presentation is so very, very important. Officer McCann is spot on. You'll see he's very passionate about this. And I hope, and I got to speak to one woman earlier about, you know, if we learn one thing every day, we'll be that much smarter. So hopefully we'll learn a whole bunch today. I did get to come around and say hi to most of you. Unfortunately, I do have a 6:30 appointment that I need to attend to. But I understand that maybe at some point in the future I can come back and we can have a little chat session about all the wonderful things going in regarding Monroe. If you're getting some emails from me as well, I hope they're helpful, or the Monroe News. There's a lot of good things going on in Monroe Township, and this is one of them. So without further ado, I do want to introduce Officer McCann. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I know I look very young. I promise I'm pretty smart, though. My name is Patrick. I was lucky enough to get hired by Monroe 5 years ago. I graduated Stockton University, and while I was at Stockton, I was applying to everywhere and anywhere. Police department. Here we are now. Luckily, I ended up in Monroe. I got hired pretty much right out of college, or right out of the university. Didn't know much about frauds before I started, but working in Monroe, you learn very quickly about frauds. Over the past 5 years, I've taken probably hundreds of frauds. We see more prevalent ones come with the times and go with the times. Right now, it's something I'll touch on absolutely, but just a brief overview. It's an unemployment fraud. So that is somebody purporting to be somebody else using their information and social security card number, and then using them to file an unemployment claim. That's what we're seeing more often than not. I think they're trying to divulge the market in the IRS for unemployment claims and just seeing whatever sticks and then moving on from there. But again, I apologize for me being late. I worked today, and I'm lucky enough to be here now. So welcome, and I promise you, I will not bore you, okay? If I do bore you, please let me know. I can make it more interesting, okay? Okay, the first step is defining identity theft and identity fraud. So I will read out the definition. It's italicized, so I may be a little bit hard to read. Can everybody hear me in the back?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. These are terms used to refer to all types of crime in which someone wrongfully obtains and uses another person's personal data in some way that involves fraud or deception. But it's typically for economic gain. Everything's about the money, right? So they're trying to get information out of you, phone number, social security number, bank card, bank information, all to get the money out of you. They're not just calling to say hello. They want something. How do they operate? These are very important key points. Firstly, that many operate internationally, which makes apprehension extremely difficult. They do this thing that is a lot smarter than I know how to do, is that they spoof their IP address. And what that means is that they might say they're from India, they might say they're from California, or their IP address is from California, where their computer is. But in reality, it could be in India, where they could spoof that IP address to 5 different countries before it ends up back in them. So many of them operate internationally, so once that money is gone, it's gone. Is that money somewhere else? So many use leading questions and words to gain trust. Some frauds or scams try to develop a relationship with you. Some try to pressure you, but then others try to develop that relationship and continue to try and tap the source over and over again. And then some use scare tactics such as you will be arrested, or your grandchild or your child has been arrested. Things like that, because I know I would act in the same thing if it came to my family too, where they really touch home emotionally for that. And like I said, that final point is that most use masked IP addresses. So that's pretty much just pretending to be somebody else. So it's a computer pretending to be a computer somewhere else. These are the top 10 fraud categories. It might be a little bit hard to see, but the outliers are what's most important. So the number of reports, highest for imposter scams, almost 650,000, right? Those 650,000 reports, only 13% of them gave money away. But out of that 13%, it's almost $600 million that was given away.
Wow.
So the outliers are what's more important. The most prevalent is imposter scams, someone purporting to be somebody else. Out of that 13%, this is in 2019, only 13% gave money away, which we think is a pretty good stat, right? Only 13, but out of that 13, almost $600 million was gone. These scams are the categories that you see on the left-hand side. I will go over, absolutely, but I'll just give you, just look at all that money that's gone. I'll give you a big number later. And it's not millions, it's billions. That's the total net loss. Who it impacts most. So why I developed, or why I adapted the fraud PowerPoint. Like the mayor said, that we had a fraud PowerPoint in the past, and it was perfectly fine. It really was. I just updated the statistics and put a few more slides in there. But why I did it is because 51% of our population, Monroe's population, is over the age of 55. And if you look at this graph right here, those are the age groups that are affected the most. 50 to 59 and 60 to 69, the most vulnerable. The 60 to 69, we have to get that number down. We have to get that number down. This might be a little bit hard to read, but again, I will explain everything. So the big part of this graph is 61%. So this is how they start. These are how frauds start. The most prevalent method is phone calls. 61% of frauds start with phone calls. So if there's nothing else that you don't garner from this presentation, or you hate hearing me talk, just don't answer your phone. Does that answer your phone to family members? Absolutely. Anything else? Or maybe friends. Maybe if you like your friends that much. But if anything else, let it go to voicemail. You could always check your voicemail, right? But if you answer that fraud, that's how it all starts. The other ones down at the bottom are text. It's okay if you don't text. That takes you out of that category. That means you are less likely to be a victim of fraud because you're not included in the text. But the most important is phone call. The other 8% is email and so on and so forth. But phone call and text are the two big, and then obviously the phone call is the most prevalent. The fraud reports by payment method. So this is how you are paying this person. The most prevalent is wire transfer. So you're giving somebody your banking information. And right now, sitting in this room, you think that is impossible, that you would give someone your banking information, right? I think most people, if I asked for it, you'd say, heck no, something like that, right? But they use tactics and methods over the phone or however they contact you. And the most prevalent is wire transfer. So you're giving somebody your banking and routing information. And then credit cards. Credit cards for me are the most secure payment method in the sense that you could always cancel that payment, right? Rather than debit cards or a wire transfer, once that money is gone, it's gone, and then you have to fight with the bank to try and get it back. Credit cards, you could always cancel the payment. So it's not that you have to make every purchase in credit cards, but for me, I think the most secure payment method is by far credit cards. So this is that big number that I was talking about. So all of my statistics are from 2019 because I can think we could all agree that 2020 was an absolute wash and that we want to forget about it. So all of my stats are from 2019 and they're from the Federal Trade Commission's website. So this big number right here, there were almost 2 million reported identity frauds nationwide. Sounds like a lot, but in reality it's not too much, right? But out of 23% of those gave away money. So 23% of almost 2 million gave away money, which again, doesn't sound like too much, but what is a lot is that almost $2 billion of loss. So almost $2 billion, 23% of the people gave away. And 23% doesn't sound like a lot, but we still have to get that number down. And if we start with Monroe, that's fine. This is only my second or third presentation. So you could say you saw it first. If I go big, I promise you, I won't forget anybody in here. All right? But we have to get that $2 billion number down. And that was an increase of almost $300 million from 2018. So these are big, big numbers that we're working with. These are the types of identity theft and fraud. I will go over these. So it's okay if you don't memorize them now. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go over them. To start, first is the IRS scams. These are very common during tax season. It's a person purporting to be an IRS agent. Is that you will get a phone call that this special investigator with the IRS, and they'll give you a badge number, and they'll give you a name, so it sounds pretty official. But unfortunately, you have unclaimed taxes, you have multiple social security numbers, and now you have a warrant out for your arrest. And federal marshals are going to show up to your door in the next day or two, and they're going to arrest you if you do not pay for those warrants. So that's one of the scare tactics that we talked about. So you get a phone call from someone purporting to be IRS, an agent, they'll give you everything. They'll give you the boss's name. This is all made up stuff. They are trying to get you to pay money using a scare tactic. If the individual does not pay the amount owed, a warrant will be issued for his or her arrest. The payment will be requested immediately and in a specific way, such as gift cards and or money transfer. This is the first time I'm mentioning gift cards, but I want to hammer home throughout this whole presentation that you should never, ever pay in the form of gift cards. Gift cards are gifts for family members or friends, for birthdays or holidays or celebrations. They are never to be used as a payment method, okay? If anybody is asking you to pay in the form of a gift card, it is a fraud, all right? And very importantly, down at the bottom, is that the IRS does not initiate contact with taxpayers via email to request personal or financial information. This includes any type of electronic communication, such as text messages and social media channels. okay? So the IRS is not going to reach out specifically to you over a phone call or a text or an email. You're going to get a certified letter in the mail, okay? Just something important to memorize or to remember. So this is what our Chief Bienes, used as an example. It was a lottery or sweepstakes scam. None of us are that lucky. None of us are that lucky to win the lottery. If you are, please, we could hang out, we could be friends, because I would like to, okay? But for the most part, none of us are that lucky to win the lottery, okay? So this, again, is initiated by a phone call. Supposedly, you have won the lottery. You have won, let's just, for example, you have won $100 million. Everybody here, the Publisher Clearinghouse as well? Yeah, okay, be very careful. Is that, like I said, none of us are that lucky, but you have won $100 million. Congratulations. That is amazing. But what you have to do first, before you can collect that $100 million, is pay the taxes and fees that are associated with it. Those taxes and fees, if you have enough money, could be more than your winnings from the lottery. Is that they will continue to tap you for taxes and fees, money for taxes and fees. So that's the ploy. You won, but you have to pay the taxes and fees first. And again, the agent will request the payment for taxes and fees via gift cards, money order, or wire transfer. And the fact, or the reason that people use, or these people ask for the payment in gift cards, is very hard to track. Is that they're going to ask you to go home, scratch the barcode on the back off, and that's going to give that gift card number, and they're going to ask for that gift card number to be read to them over the phone. Once you read that gift card number to that actor on the phone, that money is gone off the gift card. And there's nothing the store can do, I can do, or your banks can do. That money is gone. So unfortunately, we have a very real and scary example that happened here in Monroe. Is that unfortunately there was a female who was contacted by a male out of Jamaica, and she had won the Jamaican lottery. I don't know if she ever played the Jamaican lottery, but she had won the Jamaican lottery. She had won and enough money that she thought it was going to set her up for life, which would set us all up for life, and probably then some. But before she could collect her winnings, like I said, she had to pay the taxes and fees that are associated with it. So over the course of the next few months, victim one, our female, wired a total of almost $250,000 to this individual. The individual told her exactly where he was from, that he was in Jamaica. So we didn't lie to her in that sense. Told her exactly where the money was going, but that this was all going to the taxes and fees. And during this time period, she did not contact the police department for a fraud. She contacted the police department once, only to report that this actor or perpetrator from Jamaica was going to show up to her house here in Monroe to exchange information or to give her money. He said that there was going to be an armed escort with him. So someone was going to show up with a gun, not to threaten her, but just to be there for security. She didn't like that idea at all. So the only reason she contacted the police was not because of the fraud, but because she thought someone was going to show up to her house with a gun, that armed security. So immediately she contacted the police department, and immediately the detective bureau got on the case. They set up a sting operation, then undercover work with multiple cars in the air looking for somebody out of place, looking to collect money and defraud that person. Unfortunately, nothing came out of it. That they were bluffing. They never came to America. They stayed in Jamaica. It was only a ploy to get her to spend or to wire more money over to her. We had told her, Monroe Township Police Department had told her, detectives had told her, this is a fraud. Families, her family, her friends told her it was a fraud. She did not believe it. She was convinced that she had won the lottery and that if she paid enough money, she would get her money. She would get her winnings. After months and months and months, she realized that she had been defrauded. She ultimately took her own life.
Wow.
And she left a suicide note. She left letters to her family apologizing for what she had done. because all of the family's earnings had all been dwindled by the Jamaican lottery scam. So that is an unfortunate and very scary example that happened here in Monroe. So as soon as I heard this story, I made sure this PowerPoint got made, because it affected one of us. Even though it was before my time here at the police department, it affected one of us. The grandchild or family arrest scam. This happens to everybody. The caller will claim, again, it'll start usually with a phone call. This is one where, again, it's a scare tactic. They're going to call you, your grandson has been arrested. They're going to pretend to hand the phone to somebody else. It might sound like a different person on the phone. It might sound like a family member. That person on the phone is going to say grandma, grandpa, or dad or mom. And then you're going to say, in your head, you're going to rattle through the males in your family, or your granddaughters, or your grandsons in the family, until they have a name that they pick, that they're like, yep, that's it. So you would answer the phone. That person would say, hey, grandma, I've been arrested. And you're like, Johnny, you've been arrested? And they're going to be like, yeah, it's Johnny, yeah. I'm in New York Police Department. Unfortunately, there was confusion. I've been arrested. They thought I was drinking and driving. I need money for bail. I need money to get home. Can you help me? And of course, as a loving grandfather or grandmother, you're going to support that person. But in reality, that is a stranger who is only looking to take your money. So this is a scare tactic.
Happened to me.
It happened to you.
Happened to me too.
Exactly. That's 3 people in this room. We don't have too many people in this room, but only 3 people. That's a pretty big number. That's a pretty big percentage because we don't have too many people in this room. This is a scare tactic. Okay? Don't take the caller at their word. Your best bet is to check with family members before you do anything. Check with family members. That's what you did?
Yeah.
Perfect. That is my only advice on this, is check with family members, okay? Because other family members, I promise you, will know. The romance scams. These are new with social media apps and dating websites. This is something that's a little bit newer. The scammers develop a relationship with an individual via direct messaging applications such as Kik, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, and Twitter. They profess their love very quickly. They claim to be from the US but overseas for business or military service. They're asking for money, and sometimes they'll lure you off the dating website to see if they could get your phone number to text or call back and forth. They claim to need money for emergencies, hospital bills, or travel. They always plan to visit, but they can't because of an emergency. What I've seen recently too is that, just how I said before, they could spoof an IP address, which is create a fake IP address, is that they could create a fake account that could be a friend or a family member. So you get an email. Oh, I'm sorry. You get a text. Would you have Facebook by any chance? Does anybody have Facebook? Yeah. Okay. So you got a message, direct message on Facebook from Sarah Martin. You know Sarah Martin for 30 years, right? You think it's her. They could spoof that account where it is not Sarah Martin. That is a stranger pretending to be Sarah Martin. They have the technology where they can do that, where they can create a profile that is the same, as identical as someone that you already know, and ask for money. Or it could be a friend that you haven't seen since high school or college or something like that, professing their love very quickly, very intimately. Just be wary, be skeptical, be very skeptical, okay? The vacation scam, pretty much the same as the lottery and sweepstakes scam. It's that we're really not that lucky. But we're going to be paying, we're the kind of people, we're going to be paying for vacations. We don't get gifted a free vacation. And again, it's usually initiated by a telephone call where the caller states that you've been selected for a free vacation. They're trying to surprise you. They're trying to make you happy. They're trying to catch you off guard. And upon the call back, you're going to have to pay those taxes and fees. So you're going to get that free vacation, but first you have to pay those taxes and fees, which is going to add up. I promise you that. The home improvement scam, I find this a very personal and scary scam as well, because they'll show up This is in person. So you're lucky where you are at because they're not going to show up here, all right? Because the facility itself takes care of improvements and renovations. But for people with a house, they show up actually, that they pretend to be a contractor. So you might go online and research and try and find a contractor for a kitchen renovation. But you might not go on the most trusted website because you're trying to bargain hunt. For example, you go on Craigslist instead of a licensed contractor's website. You hire this person from Craigslist. They show up the first day. They write you a contract. They will need to be paid up front. They have to be paid up front. That should be the first alarm going off in your head. Being paid up front runs the risk of you losing that money and you never see that person again. So they'll show up, give you the contract, has to be paid up front, you pay them. They say they'll come back the next day. Well, all right, they come back the next day, they start the kitchen renovation. They tear up the kitchen. They get done for the day. They say, yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, don't worry about it. They never show up again. So now you're lost the initial down payment, or the upfront payment, let's just say $4,500, right? Which is relatively cheap for a kitchen renovation. And then just imagine the damage that they actually caused inside the house. So it is the down payment of the upfront cost along with the damage that they do inside of your house. And how to avoid, down there at the bottom, very important, is to do your homework when you hire renovations or you need something done at the house. So again, this is not specifically for you, but if you could pass this wisdom on to anybody in the family, is to do your homework, make sure to hire licensed contractors, and avoid making large upfront deposits. Anything paid upfront, I'm skeptical about. The mortgage and debt relief scam, this is again initiated by an automated telephone call, could possibly be an email. The caller will claim that they work with your lenders, your banks, to significantly lower your payments, such as loan modifications or debt relief. The caller will ask you for your personal and financial information before they begin, and after you have divulged your information, they will either disappear or they will claim to need a deposit. This could cost you thousands of dollars, and this is one of the ones that can continue for an extended period of time. So if you pay them once, this is one of the frauds that they can keep coming back for more, because everybody thinks that the banks are trustworthy. They wouldn't defraud me. It's not the banks. It's someone purporting to be someone from the bank, and they'll keep coming back. The charity scam, this caller will identify themselves as a charity and request a monetary donation. This is very common after a natural disaster. For example, the most recent one is the building collapse down in Florida. That's not to say that any of their charities or any of their fundraising is fake or are fake, but that's just the most recent natural disaster or disaster that I could think of. And the caller will attempt to gain sympathy. So think about the victims. I'm pretending to be the caller right now. Think about the victims of the building. Think about their families. You have to donate, right? You have to. If this was your loved one, what would you do? Well, you might give them some money, right? But this is, again, being very wary and skeptical about who you're giving money to. And again, it's the same as the home improvement. It's before you donate any money, it's to do your homework. Very important side note is that the Monroe Township PBA and State Police PBA, we do not make phone calls to request donations, okay? If you get a phone call, someone purporting to be a Monroe Township Police Department or an officer from Monroe Township Police Department, we don't call and request donations. We don't do that. And neither does the state PBA. So those are very important because I've had some people in the past presentations say, hey, I got a phone call from you last week. That's not us. Okay, that's not us. These are scams. The can you hear me now scam. So it's gonna be someone calling you. And what they're gonna say, it's pretty self-explanatory, this scam. Can you hear me now? They can repeat that over and over and over again. What they're trying to do is bait you into saying yes. They're recording the conversation. They're gonna record you saying yes, and then try and access as many accounts as they possibly can under your name, just by using your voice. Trying to get authorization to get into your accounts. So they're gonna say, can you hear me now? and they're going to pause, or they're going to try, all they're trying to do is bait you into saying yes. So this is another reason not to answer your phone. You can answer your phone to family, and like I said, sometimes friends.
We don't have caller ID here.
Okay. Does everybody have cell phones?
Yes.
Okay. So even if you have cell phones, you have the caller ID, right?
Yeah.
How do you check your voicemail, or can you?
Yeah, we have regular phones, but no caller ID.
Okay, so what I'm going to tell to the people who do not have cell phones and only have the in-house or the in-room phone, something along that line, is that you can answer the phone because I don't want your family to worry about you, right? But if you answer the phone and you're even a fraction skeptical about what is on the other end of that phone, or it doesn't sound familiar or anything like that, hang up. You even have the fun method of hanging up. You could slam that phone down, right? All I could do is press the end call. You have the opportunity to slam the phone down. It's not to break it, because I don't want to be responsible for that. But if you were skeptical for any reason when you were answering that phone, that it doesn't sound like a family member, or it doesn't sound like your doctor's office, hang up the phone. The most simple way to avoid a fraud is hanging up the phone. The secret mystery shopper scam, this is the most detailed scam that I've seen, is that the male or the gentleman who came in had received a letter in the mail, almost like he applied for a job. He didn't apply for the job, he thought a job had happened upon him. His job was to deposit the check that he received in the mail for $2,500 into his bank account. He did that. That was the first step. He thought he had $2,500. He then was to go to local grocery stores and local convenience stores, Walgreens, CVS, even Best Buy, and that he was to evaluate the checkout method, or the checkout customer service of gift cards for each store. So he was to go to Best Buy, go check out with a gift card, and then rate the experience afterwards. He was to go to Walgreens and do the same there and rate the experience afterwards. He was then told to go home. These are all instructions written down on a piece of paper that I'm just explaining to you now. He was then, third step, to go home, call the number on the page back, and then read all of the gift card numbers off. So he did that. So it was $2,500 that of gift cards that he spent. $500 here, $500 here, up to $2,500. He reads these gift cards off. So the money's gone. He thinks he did his job. He said, hey, you'll be promised more if you do this job and you do it well. Little did he know, the next day that check bounced. He was out $2,500. So that's what they're going to do, is that it's almost a too good to be true job offer. You didn't reply to it, but you got it. You get a $2,500 check deposited in your bank account. Okay. And you're promised a salary on top of that. That check's going to bounce, and you're going to be out the money that you paid for the gift cards. And again, down at the bottom in bold letters, be skeptical if you were ever asked for payment in the form of a gift card. Those are only gifts. Gift cards are gifts, and gifts only. The email compromise scam, this is one that you cannot prevent. The hacker or the actor will hack into the victim's email, and from there, the actor will change one character in the email. All future correspondence via this email will be forwarded to the actor's email. So down at the bottom, they look very similar, those emails. In the bottom one, there's an additional I. It's hard to see. Some almost only realize because I said something. Because other than that, you wouldn't realize. So the actor will hack into the email, change one character, all future correspondence, so bank information, all of that is getting forwarded to the new email, so the actor's email. The only way to prevent this is just to keep monitoring your accounts. There's security features on a lot of Gmail. I don't know if people have Gmail. There are security features on Gmail where it is, you could set up for any other device or account trying to sign into your account, you'll be notified. I definitely recommend that. And they're going to say what you're going to get is that, God forbid that happens, that you say someone is trying to get into my account. You will get an email saying, is this you? Someone is trying to sign into your account. And then you could say, nope. And then Google or Gmail will shut it down. That's a beautiful thing. The FBI lock screen. So I don't know if anybody has been a victim of this. This would be a pop-up ad that pops up on your computer. It is a virus that pops up and that is implanted on your computer. So you won't be able to get off this page. Down at the bottom, there's instructions. The only way you're going to be able to gain access to your computer back is if you pay us. And guess what form of payment method they want? Gift cards. The FBI is not asking for payment in gift cards. I promise you that. Okay? This is a virus on your computer that was implanted. There is no way that I know, because these people are a lot smarter than I am, to get this virus off your computer. Yes, sir.
Control or delete.
So I was going to say, shut your computer off.
Yeah.
And you could bring that. My advice is to bring it to a Geek Squad, or bring it to. Does everybody know what Geek Squad is?
Yeah.
It's with Best Buy. It is a computer technology services that deals specifically with antivirus software, to clean computers, and to make sure that there's no viruses on it. So it's not that you have to remember Geek Squad. I'm not sponsored by Geek Squad or anything like that. It's just a very trusted computer service technician company that you could use. Okay, so this lock screen doesn't go away. There is a virus still on your computer, and that your best bet is that if this happens to you, shut your computer, contact a family member, and then we're going to bring that computer to a trusted computer technician. Okay. The computer repair scam, I'll show you an image that'll probably get a lot of people familiar with this. These are, again, pop-up ads that just keep popping up. Right? And you exit out, but they keep coming, they keep coming. Again, this is a virus that is implanted onto your software, or onto your computer, I'm sorry. You will either be instructed to click on a link to take action, or you may receive an email and a telephone call about the virus. The caller will claim to be an expert in malware and antivirus software, and the caller may also request payment for services. So what they're going to do is that they're going to walk you step by step into getting this virus off your computer. What they are really doing is walking you step through step of you giving them access to your computer. So access, I mean, is that instead of you moving your mouse around and clicking on websites, clicking on your banking information, it is going to be someone totally different who has now gained control of your computer and is now clicking on everything and getting your information and getting your account information, right? They're going to try and walk you through the steps to gain access to your own computer. And once control is gained, the information on the computer is compromised. Right? They could take all the money from your bank account because the bank thinks it's you, because it's under your computer. It's under your login information. All of that is that this is one that I went on, which kind of scared me. Not many frauds scare me, but I had walked into a fraud where the person was still on the phone with the actor or perpetrator. And it was a computer repair scam. This is the pop-up ads happened, and he clicked on it, and he walked the actor or perpetrator through the process of gaining access to his computer. The actor perpetrator had access to everything. The guy even had a webcam. That webcam was then accessed by that actor or perpetrator. So now, not only does he have control of your computer, he can see inside your house. He was watching the guy, telling him to answer the phone, telling his wife to leave the room. Let your husband be. He's working on a computer. And the husband was saying all of this information to his wife. When I got there, I was on the webcam. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Best bet, unplug everything. I unplugged everything, I hung up the phone, and then we dealt with the fraud. But it is scary in the sense that he allowed the perpetrator or actor to gain access and to even see into his home. Does this look more familiar now? So these are the pop-up ads that I was talking about. They'll just keep coming up, keep coming up. This is a virus that's implanted on your computer or your device. Phishing scams. This is a scam that the individual is fooled to click on a link onto what they believe is a legitimate website. But in reality, the website is fake. For example, banking websites, retail stores, and bill payment services. If the individual uses their login credentials on these fake websites, their credentials are then compromised. So you're logging on to what you think is your Chase bank account. Is that you might even receive a text message from Chase saying, your account has been frozen. Please click this link, log in to unfreeze your account. You click that link, it is not going to be Chase, or there's a possibility that it's not going to be Chase. You're going to log in, or they might even ask for additional information on this login that usually isn't normal. They will then have access to your bank account and again can withdraw funds. Is that this is one of the most recent ones for me, is that she had received a text message from Chase, her account's been frozen. Please click on this link, log in to gain access to your account. She thought she was doing the right thing to unfreeze her account. She ended up losing $30,000. And those were her kids, her young kids' future college funds. So now she has to fight with the bank, to fight with Chase, to try and get her money back. And unfortunately, all I could do at that point was wish her the best of luck with Chase, because I can't get her money back. Down at the bottom, very important that this could be avoided by double checking URLs. So that is double checking the website that you were signed onto, or the website that you're click onto, is that everything is spelled correctly, because sometimes there might be spelling errors on fake websites. Make sure everything is spelled correctly and you are actually on the site that you are, or that you want to be, I'm sorry. That you're actually on Macy's with a Y, not Macy's with an I. Something along those lines. ATM skimmers, this is physical. So like I said, the home improvement scam is physical. Personal is that person's coming to your house. ATM skimmers is physical in the sense that there's going to be an adaptation onto the ATM itself. Okay? So these can either be micro card readers or cameras that is adapted to fit the ATM. From there, the cards may be cloned, or the account access could be compromised. These micro card readers can be placed on almost any ATM, or it can be hardwired to the terminal itself. It's nearly impossible to see on the ATM, and I'll show you right now. So this is what it looks like. For the people in the back, the one on the left is real. So the one on the left on both sides is a flat surface that you put your debit card into. On the right, there's an adaptation onto both. So there's an additional piece. Okay? From there, those are micro card readers. So that's going to read the information on your card when you put it in and you put it out. Now, that micro card reader, whether or not that gets forwarded somewhere or that actor or perpetrator comes at the end of the night, collects that card reader and just has hundreds of accounts on it. The way to avoid this is to use trusted ATMs. Use ATMs at banks. Avoid using ATMs on the side of 7-Eleven in a town you don't know. Banks are trustworthy in the sense they have usually cameras all around that drive-thru, right? And if the banks notice something or alarm was tripped, if something is misplaced or touched on the ATM, because you could trip an ATM alarm if you start messing around with it. So we hope that if that actor or perpetrator started messing around with that ATM, the ATM alarm would trip, and then you get us coming. So that's why I trust the banks. There's a lot more surveillance around the banks than there is that 7-Eleven that's in the town you don't know, and the ATM's on the side. The medical information and insurance stuff. This is very prevalent now with those unemployment scams that I was talking about. Thieves can steal your identity and use it for medical insurance claims and unemployment claims. Situations like this involve an individual purporting to be someone that they are not, to be able to receive certain benefits and/or a monetary gain. This can lead to unexpected out-of-pocket expenses, higher insurance rates, tax implications, and inaccurate medical records. So what we've had recently is that there's been an influx of unemployment claims. These are fraudulent. So it is just, I took a unemployment fraudulent claim today, is that the male was at his work. He was called by his HR department, his human resources department. He said, "You still work here?" I said, "Yeah." The HR representative said, "Well, I just received an unemployment claim with your name on it. It says that you have left the job and you're now applying for unemployment." And it happened a month prior. So someone had used his information a month prior to file an unemployment claim, and that unemployment claim was sent to his employer, and his employer was notified, and then he was notified. So it was his information, but he was the last one notified. So ways to avoid this is that you must always check the explanation of benefits section of any IRS or paycheck that you receive to make sure that nothing has changed. Okay? This could be a headache around tax season when you have to file your taxes, because the IRS thinks you're applying for unemployment, but then the IRS also sees that you have a steady income. So good luck trying to figure that one out with IRS, because I already don't like tax season, and can you imagine that? The Social Security theft. With a stolen Social Security number, an identity thief can assume your identity or use your Social Security number and create a different name and biological information in a combination, thus creating a completely new identity. So Social Security cards themselves have little to no modern security features, and making false duplication of them is very easy. It's pretty much taking a photocopy with a color printer and then laminating it. How you can protect your Social Security is that your Social Security number is locking the Social Security card in a very safe spot, and never give away your Social Security number. Some places or doctor's office might ask for the last four. I feel comfortable with the last four, but be very wary if anybody asks for your full Social Security number. The only person I really trust is a police officer, because for some frauds, we ask for it. I would trust it there, and pretty much only there. Other than that, the last four, maybe, if you feel like it, if you trust where it's going. If not, you could pick a new doctor, or you could tell them no, I don't feel comfortable. And most places are accommodating when you say something along those lines. The false tax return. These will use your personal information to file a completely separate tax return in your name. You will then be unable to file your own tax return. The thief ultimately obtains your identity and uses it. It's very prevalent today, especially with the COVID refund payments. Is that you could be waiting to file your taxes, and you go on TurboTax, and you try and submit your stuff, but it said that something has already been filed in your name. And from there, that money, that tax return has already gone to the actor or perpetrator, and you're unable to file your own legitimate, real tax return. If you notice any fraudulent transactions and related to your tax return, you must contact the IRS immediately. Okay? The IRS might tell you to come to us. That's absolutely fine. We'll document it. The IRS tells you to come to us to make sure that you're serious about the fraud, that you're not trying to defraud the IRS. So if they tell you to come make a police report, come on over, see us. Your friendly officers just like me will take fraud report. And another reason, so I mentioned about our female victim from before my time, who unfortunately took her own life. That plays a very big part about why I created the PowerPoint. Another part is this right here. In Monroe Township alone, frauds have increased almost 300% since 2011. 2011, there was 185 frauds. 2019, 679. Might not seem like a lot, but that is a lot of money that is going away. Remember, there was a lot of reported incidents, but a low percentage of people who gave away money, but it accumulated to a very large sum of money that was given away. So right now, that 679 might not seem like a lot, but that's not everybody just giving away $500 and contacting us. That's people giving away a few times. There's been a handful of times over $1 million a piece. So that's 679 that I don't want that number to increase. I don't want that number to keep going up. If anything, I want that number to keep going down. That's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing here. This example of the scenario is what I gave before, that you'll get a phone call from the IRS. They'll give you a badge number, a name, the name of their boss. You have an outstanding warrant. You are going to be arrested by federal marshals. They're going to show up at your door. They're going to use that scare tactic to ask you to pay in the form of gift cards. And like I said, gift cards are gifts. We have an example of this in town, is that one of the, a fraud that I took a year or two ago, she fell victim to this. She ordered an Uber to Walgreens on Applegarth Road to purchase gift cards to give to the actor on the phone. The only reason she did not become a victim of fraud or not give away any money is that the Uber driver heard the conversation because the phone was on speaker. The Uber driver then wrote on a piece of paper, fraud, exclamation point, exclamation point. The Uber driver then took our female back home. That's the only reason that she didn't lose money, because she had it in her mind that she was going to be arrested and that she had to pay in the form of gift cards to avoid arrest. So this might be hard to read. It's how to avoid identity theft and identity fraud. I'll go bullet point by bullet point, but also if I'm talking too much or you don't understand or you don't like the way I'm talking, we have packets up here. I'm gonna hand these packets out that goes over exactly this, okay? The first one is to spot imposters. So scammers often pretend to be someone you trust, like a family member, a charity, or a company you do business with. Do not send money or give out personal information in response to an unexpected request, whether it comes as a text, a phone call, or an email. Number two is to do online searches. So this is what I'm saying, where I mentioned before, is to be skeptical, be wary, do your homework. Do online researches before you give anybody money. So if a charity is asking for money, research that charity. Find out where this money is going. Maybe contact a family member. Have you heard of this before? Is to do online searches. Make sure that person or the company is legitimate. Number three, it's easy for the people who do not have caller ID, but don't believe your caller ID, okay? Technology makes it easier for scammers to fake caller ID information. So the name and telephone number you see aren't always real. If someone calls asking for money and or personal information, hang up. Remember I said, people with the actual cord phones, hang up, right? Slam that phone down. If it's that important, the caller will leave a voicemail. That is my tried and true method, is that if it is that important and I don't recognize the number, they will leave a voicemail. I can call back, absolutely. But if they don't leave a voicemail, and that's a number I don't recognize, that's one less person that I have to talk to that day, and I'm not a victim of fraud. Number four is very important. What I mentioned about the home improvement is that to not pay up front for a promise. Someone might ask you to pay in advance for things like debt relief, credit and loan offers, mortgage assistance, a job, or even a vacation. If you do, they will probably take the money and disappear. Number five is consider how you pay. I mentioned about gift cards. Very simple that I think gift cards are the most secure payment method because you could always cancel that, and credit cards usually have the most protection on their security features. So everybody in here probably has a gift card. I'm sorry, a gift card. No gift cards, right? None. Everybody in here probably has a credit card. It's that maybe next time you're at the bank, or next time you got nothing to do, is contact your credit card company or go online and see what security features they have. those security features are always updating, right? They're always updating. Make sure yours are up to date and that you're notified if you were to lose money from your account or an unexpected large amount was deducted from your account. Just give it a look. Number 6 is probably the most important thing. It's what you led to before, is to talk to somebody. Talk to somebody before you give away any information or payment or banking information. Talk to somebody. Me talking right now, it's easy to understand it. It's easy to retain it. But if you're under pressure from an actor or perpetrator trying to use a scare tactic, it's very easy to become a victim of fraud because they're acting on your emotions. They're playing you. They're acting on your emotions. Talk to somebody. Talk to somebody unbiased, because once you tell somebody what happened, they'll give you that unbiased opinion where they're saying, oh, Mom, Dad, no, that is a fraud. Absolutely. You might think it's legitimate, but their person will say, Mom, Dad, that's a fraud. Don't give them any information. I think that's the most important bullet point up there, is to talk to somebody. Hang up on robocalls. If you answer the phone and hear a recorded sales pitch, hang up and report it to the Federal Trade Commission. These calls are illegal. You feel free to hang up. Hang up. They have to have authorization to be able to put you on that list. If you haven't given authorization to be on that list, that's illegal. You can hang up. Be skeptical about free trial offers. We're not that lucky, right? We usually have to pay for things. Just keep that mindset. And do not deposit a check and wire money back. It's very similar to money laundering. Banks must make deposit funds available within days, but if the check is fake, you will be responsible for repaying the bank. So if you receive payment method from an email online saying they're a contractor, they're going to pay you for materials for you to buy and then give them the rest of the money back. So they'll give you $10,000 in a check. Say, can you go buy the materials? I'm too busy right now. And just not Venmo me or wire me back the money. $10,000, you go, you buy $2,000 worth of stuff. They'll harass you. Where's the change? You wire the money back. Well, guess what? That check bounced. And the money that you spent, or the money that you wired, is now gone. So you pretty much laundered their money. In another word, is that you're not going to get in trouble by us because you were a victim of fraud, but it's just something to keep in mind. I know that's a lot of information. and I'm almost done, so thank you for bearing with me. How to avoid spam calls. For the people who do not have caller ID, this is a very good option. You could register your mobile or home phone on the National Do Not Call Registry. I've personally done it myself. It took 20 seconds. Yeah, I've heard from people in the past that it doesn't necessarily work all the time, but at least limits some. It's all about percentages with the money or with frauds, right? It's all about lessening or lowering that percentage. Well, just like this, you get on that registry, maybe that's 1 or 2 less calls that you get a day rather than the 10. The registrations never expire, and it's easy to sign up. For people who does anybody have an iPhone in here? I could help you out with iPhones. iPhones have a pretty cool security feature that I recently found out about, is that you could send spam phone calls. So what Verizon or AT&T might consider a spam phone call, a number that has been reported in the past for being maybe a spam, it'll send it directly to your voicemail. It won't even ring. It'll just send it right to your voicemail. So that's one less opportunity that you answer the phone and you're a victim of fraud, right? So I'll show you at the end, absolutely. For non-Apple users, check the Settings app on your phone for similar security features, and or contact your service provider with questions about silencing spam calls. Those are the 3 key words: silencing spam calls. So that's what it is on the Apple devices. That's what we're going to get onto your phone. For everybody else who does not have Apple, whereas the home phone, is that the do not call registry, and you can always contact your service provider to see if they offer any additional security features for silencing spam calls. Who to report it to? I have this information out in my car. I'm going to bring it to you. It is paperwork that I'll hand out to everybody in this room, so I don't have to go over it now. It's on the piece of paper that I'm going to give to you, okay? And that's all I got.